Hello, hello, hello. It's Lisa Copeland. How are you today? And welcome to the Rise and Roar Mastermind. I decided to move this from Zoom platform onto my live platforms because I ended up sending out the videos to people regardless. So I felt like this was easier to do it this way. And so I wanted to open it up to everybody in my audience. We're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X. It'll end up over on Instagram. Anyways, I think it's really, really important that the Rise and Roar Mastermind gets out to as many people as possible. And so today I'm going to talk about something I'm super passionate about. And it comes from Queen Esther, and it comes from the book of Esther, and it's 4:14 for such a time as this. And the last couple of weeks have been really, really upsetting and disturbing on so many accounts. The assassination of Charlie Kirk. What's going on in our government? Our government has shut down. Like, what the heck? Why can't they just come together and make stuff happen? We're seeing indictments come out. We're seeing things revealed to us, and it seems like things are being revealed to us at a much faster pace than they've ever been revealed to us before. And it's really easy to go down rabbit hills, and it's really easy to buy into conspiracy theories and spend an entire day on Instagram or YouTube seeing what all the talking heads from Candace Owens to everybody else has to say. But at the end of the day, what does that do for you? Because see, we can't change the outcome of any of this. We can't change the outcome of what our government does and how long that they stay shut down. And we can't change the outcome, unfortunately, about what happened to Charlie Kirk. We can't change the outcome of the conspiracy theories that are taking people down the rabbit holes, right? So I had to tell myself that I was going to stop the insanity. I was going to stop the insanity. And that's what I'm going to encourage my audience to do today. Although you're on here with me, but my message, I hope, is going to be encouraging. And I hope it's going to be something that helps you stop the insanity. If you guys can see like my prayer journal, my notes I've been taking, and I really, really thought about and prayed about what I was going to talk about today. And I'm really talking to myself. So know that when I do these Rise and Roar Masterminds, or when I go live, or when I put something out there, I always do it. I'm pretty self-serving when it comes to that. I do it for myself. But I want to share with all of you what the conclusions that I've come to in the last week about how I was going to spend my time, my energy, and my mental focus. Because guys, we live in a world of and it's good and evil. I believe that to my very soul. It is good versus evil. And I'm not talking about a political party. There's good and evil Republicans. There's good and evil Democrats, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the forces literally that are on planet Earth, and it just feels like, and I don't know, put it in the comments if you guys feel it, this heaviness of this good versus evil. And what are we going to put our eyes on? What are we going to put our attention on? What are we going to give focus to? Okay. And I catch myself doing it. Like I said, I'm not here to preach to anybody. I catch myself getting onto some of these websites or watching some of these podcasts. And then all it does for me is it creates doubt. And I don't need any more doubt on planet Earth. I know fundamentally it's good versus evil about what's happening right now in our country and in the world. The church that was blown up, the LDS church that was blown up in Michigan last Sunday, we haven't even heard about it again. I mean, is it just that we're so numb to what happens right now on the planet that an entire church, like a truck ran into it and it blew up? It gets to be where it's almost just too much. And it's terrible and it's sad and people are suffering. And then we're just on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So anyways, I told myself, no more. I'm done. I had some very high level conversations with some people yesterday, and we all kind of just came to the same thing. There's only one thing that we can believe, and that's we can believe in the God and our God that created the universe. He created the heavens and the universe. And, depending on, I'm not what your religion is, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe or how to believe. I'm just going to tell you what I have done during these very, very troubling times. I cannot remember being as upset as I've been after Charlie was assassinated. Like on a college campus, like, are you kidding me? Like, what is happening on the planet? And then just one thing after the other thing, after the other thing, after the other thing, and accusations being made and people pointing fingers. And it just like, oh, it's the noise. It's the noise. Like, how does the average person even function under all of this noise, this oppression, this evilness, right? You have to break out the evil. So there's this book I'm reading. I love it. It's called The Fearless Women of the Bible. Let's see. Yeah, I got to be able to get it in there. It's really good. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to spend my time reading, and I love to read. If you guys know me, I've read 256 books in about 2.5 years. I say read. I listen to them. I'm in real estate. I'm in the car all the time, so I do not listen to the radio, and I try to stay off the podcasts. Every once in a while, you know, Megan Kelly or somebody sucks me in, but I try to stay off of it. Because what is a podcaster trying to do, really, at the end of the day? They're trying to get clicks. They're trying to get, I mean, we are clickbait, and they're going to give their opinion. And even if you agree with their opinion, you know, they end up taking me down a road that I don't need to spend my time, my energy, anything on. I just don't. And so it's better for me, for my psyche, for my business, for my family, for my friends, for me being a leader, to not go down those roads and to go back to what I know is true. See, I know that everything in the Bible is true. And have I always spent time reading it? No, I'm bad about that. I read every other book. I have so many books. Like I said, I've read so many books, but now I'm like, I'm getting off those books. I'm going back to the basics. And I want to encourage you all to go back to the basics, to go back to the basics of life and get off of the rabbit trails, because you'll be so much less disturbed in your spirit if you can do that. And I really just felt really called to just tell everybody that follows me that today, you know, and again, I'm having to make myself do it because, you know, I don't know about the rest of you, but I must get 200 texts a day between memes and videos and conspiracy theories and this and that. And, you know, I'm the first one to open it up and go to, but now I'm not like, don't even send them to me. I don't want to go there, because at the end of the day, we're never going to know the truth about a lot of things that have happened in our lifetimes. We're just not. And I kind of think maybe we're not supposed to know the truth. I don't know. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to tell you about Queen Esther. So one of my very favorite verses is Esther 4:14. And it summarizes as, for such a time as this. For such a time as this. And guys, I think that we live in a time that it's for such a time as this. And that the lionesses, the women, the leaders, the people that truly love God, love people, that we will rise up. And we will say, you know, we will acknowledge that there's evil on the planet, but we're not going to get involved in it. We're going to stay away from it. We're going to put things in our minds and in our hearts that can actually help humanity and not hurt humanity. And so have you ever felt like you were placed exactly where you were supposed to be? And if you feel like that, that means you are living and you're walking in your purpose. If you feel right now that you're like, I know where I'm supposed to be. I know when I walk in the door of my office, I walk in my house. I know when I walk into my church or my synagogue. I know when I'm with my friends. Like you just know this is where you're supposed to be. This is where you're supposed to be. That is when you're walking in your purpose. And I think it's so important now for you to define your purpose. You know, do you believe that what you do matters? Do you believe that what you do matters, whether it's your job, whether it's how you're serving your community, whether it's how you're serving your family? Like, if you have got that purpose-filled heart, soul, and spirit, you will be a much happier person when you're trying to combat the evil that's happening on planet Earth. And like I said, these are my handwritten notes from the book. But Esther was a queen. You know, there was Queen Esther always walked in her purpose, and she was a young, beautiful queen, and but she was hiding her true identity. And when people And when her people were in trouble, her cousin told her, perhaps you were born for such a time as this. And I want to encourage you to study Queen Esther. And I think a lot of us women, I mean, we're all Esthers. Like, we're ready to rise up. We're ready to fight. We're ready to stand against evil. But standing against evil doesn't mean you have to dwell in the evil. And dwelling in the evil means it's, taking hours out of your precious day and scrolling on social media and reading the negativity and buying into what the pundits have to say. Like, you have to understand, guys, it's us against them. And I don't care if we're talking about Fox News or CNN. I'm not, they all have their evilness. They all have the way that they want to suck us in. They want to drain our energy. They want to drain our minds. They want to make us small so that they can be big. They want us to be bought into their narrative and their agenda. And I want to encourage you today that you have got to create your own agenda. You have got to create your own narrative. That's what I want for you desperately. And if anything, any part of this is hitting home for you today, please share it out. Please share it out. Like, we have got to stop buying into the media's narrative, the narrative of politicians, both Republicans and Democrats. We have got to quit buying into the hate and what's going on. It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. Like, how that robs our joy and our peace. And I don't want anybody who's my friend, anybody who's in my sphere of influence. Like, I don't want your peace robbed. I do not want your joy taken away from you. I want you to take it back. And you have got to be committed to take it back. And one of the things you'll do to take it back is you'll put it down. You'll put down the phones, you'll turn off the news, and you'll start reading. You'll start reading books that matter, books full of purpose. Read your Bible, read your Torah, read whatever it is that gives you peace or that connects you to your higher power. All right. My higher power is God and Jesus. And so my book is the Bible. I've read it a couple of times. And so now I like to do, not that I shouldn't be in it more. I'm not saying that, people, but now I like to read other books too. And so this one has just been really good. And, some of the things that I've told myself that I'm going to get through these dark days, what's happening in our country, on the planet, in just the whole psyche of people, is that I want to recommend to you also is that to anchor yourself in purpose and not circumstance. What is your purpose? Why are you here? Live it out. Maybe your purpose is to help children that have been trafficked. Maybe your purpose is to help single moms. Maybe your purpose is to help children in elementary school. Maybe your purpose is to teach Sunday school. Maybe your purpose is to be a friend. Maybe your purpose is to help people who are battling disease and cancer and things like that. Whatever your purpose is, but to go all in on it right now. Like, that's one of your takeaways I want for you today, is to anchor yourself in purpose, not in circumstance. Circumstance is what we're living in right now. Circumstances, I cannot turn on the television anymore. I can't. I used to be the biggest Fox News junkie. I just loved all the different shows. And, if you follow me, I am a proud conservative. I will not even turn on Fox News. Now, I don't want to hear it. It's just like I had this revelation, like everybody out there, all they're trying to do is get my attention. They're trying to get my click on the computer. They're trying to get my ratings on TV. They're trying to do everything they can do to distract me, to create a narrative in my mind. I need to come up with my own conclusions and my own narratives, but it doesn't need to be based off of what somebody's sitting there and telling me. Number two, I want you to choose courage over comfort. Like, we live in a country, we live in a place where you've got to have courage to stand up. And, I think that we were silenced for a long time. I just do. And so I think people got comfortable with being silent. And I want to encourage you, if you follow me, if you're a lioness, if you're watching this, you're a lioness, you're somebody, or a lion. I love my lions. So trust me, this is not just for the ladies, but now is the time when we see something wrong, when we see something that's not just, when we see something that needs to be corrected, needs to be fixed. It is time not to stand back and be quiet, and sit in our comfort and then just hope and pray that everything fixes itself. It's our time to choose courage. And courage is not easy. Queen Esther had courage. She had courage in going to the king. All right. And when she went to the king, she risked everything to save her nation. So what are you willing to do? She knew her influence was for a greater purpose. Esther wasn't in the palace by accident as such a time as this. And, I believe that every one of you have got a mission that you need to fulfill on planet Earth. Listen to me, my lionesses who watch me, who follow me. You were built for such a time as this. You were built for this. Okay. God doesn't make mistakes. We are stronger. We are smarter. We are more creative. We are more curious. We are a lot of things. And we are a lot of things that our mothers weren't, our grandmothers weren't. And that's not a knock on moms or grandmas. They're amazing. But what I'm saying is they didn't have the knowledge that we have today. They didn't have the knowledge that we have today. Like, we are being shown things that we ultimately have to make a decision about. And some of it is straight up good versus evil. Good versus evil, right? What are we going to buy into? And then, I want you to build community and not isolation. I see people in times like this when people are sad and they're scared and they're confused, they isolate. And now is the time more than ever to get into your community, to get with people you trust, to get back to church, to get back to your synagogue, to get back to your groups and your people and people that encourage you and people that live and walk in truth and want you to have the same thing. There's so much happening here. And I get, I lead almost 900 real estate agents, and people reach out to me all the time. They text me, they send me voice messages, they send me emails. And, believe me, people are struggling today. They're struggling with the economy. They're struggling with fear. They're grappled with fear. You cannot turn on the news and something heinous has not happened to somebody else. There hasn't, another murder has been committed. Another church has been bombed. A Christian leader was assassinated in front of 3,000 students. My God, like why does anybody want to turn that on? Why does anybody want to turn that on? Instead, I want you to create your own commentary. I want you to create your own narrative. I want you to create your own good news. I want you to go do something that you are walking in your purpose and that you can take that through you, take it with you throughout the day. Go up to the elementary school, be a mentor, go volunteer at your favorite charity, go do something that when you walk away, you're like, oh, this was great. I helped somebody else on the planet, and it'll also restore your faith in what's happening in planet Earth, right? There's a lot of good in the world still, but the evil is all we hear about. When you turn on the news, when you scroll your Instagram feed, when you scroll TikTok, oh my God, like everybody hates everybody. This group hates this group. And this person says this is a conspiracy, and this person says this, and this person says that. And guys, I have been guilty of it too. Getting on and watching it and letting that sink into my psyche. And it's very real that what you read, what you put in front of you, what you do will absolutely correlate to the kind of day you're going to have, how your spirit feels, how you feel, whether you're depressed or you're happy or you're able to overcome things. It's 1,000,000%. It's 1,000,000% correlated to what we allow into our hearts, into our brains, through our eyes, where we put ourselves on a daily basis. My dear friend, Elena Cardone says, every decision you make either builds or destroys your empire. So we always say every decision you make either builds or destroys. It just does. And I never ever correlated it to what we watch, whether it's the news or how much time we spend on social media. And hey, you're on social media listening to me right now, but I am here to encourage you to do something for you today, to go out there and to make a difference and to walk in your purpose. Because as soon as you walk in your purpose, everything will seem better. Just me turning off and I've really kind of just spent the last few days, I'm working on a big project that I'm dying to announce to my Lioness community, because it's all about lioness and it's super big. And I there's like 2 or 3 people that know about it. And so I've really isolated myself the last 4 or 5 days because I can't have any distractions. I don't want any distractions. I need to get this to the finish line because I'm absolutely supposed to have it done. So sometimes it is good to isolate. Sometimes it's good to isolate if you're working on something that you believe can change things, can change the game for people, then isolate. But if you're isolating because you're scared or you're sad or you're unsure, you're depressed, that is the time to jump into community. That's the time to find your people. That's the time. And I'm going to tell you something. That's when it's the hardest to do. That is when it's the hardest to do, is when you feel like that. It's like, dang, I do not want to be around people today. But that is the time that you jump in. That is the time that you find your community. But the main thing, I guess, as our takeaways today, because, I try to keep these short, but our takeaways today is that I want you to anchor yourself in purpose, not circumstance. I want for every one of you to have the life that you are intended to live. I think the thing that I've really spent some time on lately is that our runway on earth is pretty short. Whether you live 31 years like Charlie, or you live 50 years or 70 years or even 100 years, compared to eternity, our runway on earth is short. And while you're on earth, that's the time you have to make big impact, huge impact. And every one of you that's still on here, that's still watching this, I know you're supposed to have heard something that I said today. I know that. And I just want you to, and I would love to hear from you. What is it you're going to do to create impact? How are you going to stand up for what's true? How are you going to get rid of the negative narratives, the news, the social media, the TikTok, the Instagram, the podcasters? Like, you guys, understand that these podcasters get paid for views. Okay. They get paid for views. And I've got some of my very, very favorite podcasters that I love. And I'm not listening to them right now. I can't. I just don't want to. I don't want to. Because at the end of the day, I am part of their game. They're not part of mine. They need me to click. They need me to stay on for a certain amount of time so that their advertisers will pay them money. So how do people get you? How do they hook you to watch something? How do they hook you to stay engaged? Is that they give you bad news. They spin the story per their take. And I don't want to say create a conspiracy. I think the whole world is a conspiracy, if you want to know the truth. But they take certain pieces of the narrative and then they spin it up and they make it so diabolical, so salacious, so juicy that you can't turn it off. And what happens to you when you get off of that? Your spirit is broken. You're sad. You're sitting there thinking, oh my God, where do I live? What planet am I on? What is happening on earth? Guess what that podcaster is doing? They're getting rich. They're getting rich. They're making money. The longer you sit there and listen and you share it and you do all of those things, that's how they get paid. And again, I've got some podcasters I love, and I am just kind of on strike right now. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to spend time. I'm going to read my books. I'm going to listen to my books. This is going a little bit deep, and you might shut me off after this. But one I'm listening to right now that I've actually sent out to 4 people, and they've all started reading it, is called Spiritual Warfare. And that that would all depend on where you believe and where you land and all of that. But like, I want to understand the good and evil in the spiritual realms that are messing with us, because that's what's happening, guys. It isn't Republicans killing people. It's not Democrats killing. It's not that. It is good versus evil. It is good versus evil. See, they want to separate us on earth. Okay. But the realization I'm coming to more than anything is that it's all happening more in the spiritual realm, but it's separating us on earth. It just is. So anyways, this is my lioness thing today. I don't think I've ever come on with a message like this before, but this has just been all over me. This spiritual warfare book that I'm listening to right now, I can't put it down. I can't. Like, I'm up every morning. I do like a 4-mile walk, and that, takes me like 45 minutes. I listen to it. Like I listen to this book. I'm almost through it. 4 of my friends, I've called them like, you have to listen to this book. It makes everything that's happening today, right now, make sense. But understand, guys, like we are the pawns. We are the pawns in all of this. Okay, don't be anybody's pawn. Don't be any podcaster's pawn. Don't be the government's pawn. Don't be any of it. Don't be any of it. Do everything you can do to fortify yourself, to get strong, to create your own narrative, to figure out what is your purpose. Because like, just like in the case of Esther, it's for such a time as this. You were put on planet Earth for a reason. Every single one of you, I believed in my very soul, is you were put here for a purpose, for a reason, for a season. You were put here and you were meant to do something bigger than what you're doing today. Me too. So I'm not saying, oh, I've got it all figured out. Like that's what I'm grappling with right now. Like, what am I really supposed to do on planet Earth? What is my voice really supposed to be? I sell real estate. I love real estate. That's the way I pay my bills. That's the way I fulfill my what I think is my business calling, for sure. But I do think God has given me a voice and he's given me influence. Like, what do I do with that to make planet Earth a better place? What do I do with that? And those are the deep questions I want to challenge all of you, all of my followers, everyone who follows me, who listens to the Lioness podcast. I want you to follow, what is it you are supposed to do to your core? Why were you put on planet Earth for such a time as this? Because you are every bit as important and as special as I am, and as every person who's watching this. You matter. You matter to your community. You matter to your family. You matter to God. You matter to everything. So don't let people take you down a rabbit hole and get you into such a place where you cannot walk out your purpose. And that's going to mean putting down some of this stuff. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for all my lionesses. I love you so much. Thank you for allowing me to move over to this platform, because I really believe on this public platform that somebody's going to hear this and they're going to do something with it. And if nothing else, I want you to hear, or I want you to start thinking about, why were you put on this planet for such a time as this? Okay, I love you guys. Bye-bye.